Hello, and welcome to the Fantasy Rewind podcast. I'm your co-host, Dylan Stoll, and I'm joined, as always, by my friend Mike.
Hey.
So today, we're continuing on with House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 4, which is titled...
The Red Dragon and the Gold.
The Red Dragon and the Gold. Alright, so before we get into the episode breakdown here, I'm just going to give out the typical reminders. If you want to get in contact with the show, you can send us an email, which is fantasyrewindpod@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram, which is @fantasyrewindpod. And on X, which is @fantasyrewind. Alright, Mike, without any farther delay, let's dive into the rewind.
Fantasy Rewind. Dylan, this episode, I kind of talked about it just a touch last time, but it's probably had the most going on, right?
Oh, definitely. It's my favorite episode of the season so far. Hands down.
And I'm pretty sure that we're gonna have another episode like this, or another couple episodes like this later on this season, with just sort of how it's going. This is the halfway mark of the season, right? There's only
8 episodes. Yeah.
So I'm figuring that we'll have this episode, which had a big battle in it, and then we'll have next episode, which will sort of be like picking up the pieces from that battle, an episode building up, and then those last 2 episodes sort of
another big explosion,
battle, and fallout or whatever. Wowzer. But let's get started with it. Overall thoughts on this one, Dylan?
It was fire.
It was fire. 100.
Yeah, I mean, I like this episode quite a bit. There's a lot to love about this episode. There's a lot to dig into here, both talking about the battle, the lead up to the battle, the implications of what that battle are. And it just all centers around the climax here of the episode.
And that's going to be the parts where I really want to have the biggest conversation, is the fallout and sort of what's happening next. And kind of want to get to that. So just really quickly here, we have kind of the whole lead up of this battle is, Kristen Cole has been taking over the Riverlands. We see Damien dealing with his ghostly visits or whatever, Harrenhal curse, whatever you want to call it, where he's having these visions of raising an army, and he meets this witch, quote unquote, maester
yeah,
woman.
So Alice Rivers. And she's kind of like this woods witch type of person, / like maester, who like isn't really a maester, because you'll know she's not wearing a chain, and unfortunately, she's a woman, and maesters can't be women. But then she basically tells him one of the reasons that he's having these visions is because his bed that he's sleeping in is made of godswood tree. And so, like, like those trees with the faces on it, like that were like the old gods. So, like, his bed is made out of one of those. And so she's like, that's why you're seeing some weird things and, like, having these dreams. And then she brews him a potion, and he just seems so out of it when we see him talking with the Brackens or the Blackwoods or whoever it was, after he is upset that the young Tully came to see him versus the bedridden, not really with it, old lord. So he's kind of Luigi in the Mansion of Ghosts right now.
Yes, he is. And such an apt metaphor there. Except he's not quite as scared of them. He's just walking around with a sword out. Now, Dylan, Alice Rivers, is she going to play kind of an important role going forward, or is she just kind of like a character? Was she in the books, not in the books?
She's in the books, and she's a character in the series. But we'll see how important she is or not. I don't know what they're going to do and what's going to go down with it. So we'll find out as the series continues.
Interesting. Okay. Because I don't know, like, I kind of dig her character, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, who does she work with? Is she really kind of taking sides here? Or is she, I don't know, she's really mysterious right now, and I want to know more, and so that's kind of...
Well, she made the joke that she's not actually a person, that she's an owl cursed to live in human form. And so the question is she joking or is she not? Or what's her deal? We'll figure out maybe as the series continues.
Yeah. It's so interesting with the Game of Thrones universe because you've always gotten hints of the magic, right?
Right. It's never like straight up wizards casting spells. It's always like references to this magical universe that's there right under the surface.
Yeah, and it's never really exposed outside of in the Game of Thrones show with the White Walkers, I suppose, and like the Red Priestess.
Yeah.
Yeah, outside of them, like you really never see it. And so I think it's kind of neat if we were to get a little bit more into that. But yeah, just kind of a dream of mine. But this isn't really the universe for the magic. That's Wheel of Time, and they're doing a piss poor job of that. So anyway, back to this show though. So we kind of get throughout this episode with Daemon. He's just sort of trying to build this army, and it looks like he's going to take things into his own hand instead of dealing with the Tullys because the Tully elder is bedridden. And yeah. Now, we do find that switching gears here.
Hold on. So Daemon does make the joke to the young Tully that comes to visit him. Maybe you should just put a pillow over your grandfather's face and get your inheritance early. And he's not really joking either. He's like, come on, I want to deal with the Lord. I'm trying to do this the proper way. And I can't do that with you right now. And I can't do that with an old man who's bedridden and just drinking milk with a poppy all day.
Yeah. And so it's understandable on both sides. Like, yeah. Like honestly, Lord Tully there, the grandfather, should just be like, I can't do this anymore. My grandson's going to take it, you know?
Yeah, but we know about old men clinging to power. So, I mean, that's...
in real life, too.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No, it's not. But, yeah. Let's switch gears here over to King's Landing. And let's kind of talk about sort of the intrigue that went on there, because we had quite a bit. You know, last episode you had Aemon kind of getting mocked a little bit from his brother Aegon, and now we sort of flash into this war council scene, right? And you've learned that Kristen Cole has taken over all these keeps and stuff, and it cuts to Kristen Cole at one point, like cutting off the head of one of the factions that were loyal to Rhaenyra. He's such Kristen Cole. There's like people posting about him and saying like crispy Cole, and I'm just like, he is kind of crispy. But like, I just don't like his character at all. Like, he's really dealing with all the, I feel like he's overcompensating for all the facts that he's making such poor decisions. Like, I can't live the right way, so I'm going to make everyone else do it type deal or something.
Yeah.
It's really weird, his character, and like how he's trying to overcompensate for this sense of duty that he just can't follow.
Well, it's really funny, too, because in this episode, they reference the nickname that he has in the books, which is Sir Criston the Kingmaker, because basically history looks back and says that Aegon would never have become king without Kristen Cole putting the crown on his head. And so they look at him as being the deciding factor of who became king after Viserys died.
Interesting.
And so, like, the guy whose head he chops off, he calls him Kingmaker before he is killed. So just a reference to a book part.
What was his role in making Aegon king?
Oh, basically, Sir Criston Cole was a member of the King's Guard when Viserys died, and when Alicent came and said, you know, like, we gotta make Aegon king, Criston Cole was in lockstep with her because he dislikes Rhaenyra. And so go ahead and he does it. But basically because the crowning would not have happened without Kristen Cole being there. Like, he's called Sir Criston the Kingmaker.
Yeah, that makes sense. Man, so weird. And all because he got spurned by like a 14-year-old girl because she didn't want to like leave and go sell oranges and whatnot by the coast.
But the rest of this episode that happens at King's Landing is actually very interesting to me. And I want to start off with Alicent, actually, rather than going to the War Council.
Okay, we'll do the war council next. Yes, so Alicent gets this basically Plan B tea made, drinks that because she doesn't want a crispy cold baby in her, especially only 2 weeks after her late husband died, right?
I wanted to bring that up because that was very interesting to me. That basically she reveals that this entire season so far, as long as it seems to have been, has only taken place over 2 weeks of actual time. And the fact that everything that's happened has happened within that 2 week span really, I think, is a good point of emphasis that Rhaenyra isn't just sitting on her hands for months and months and years while this is happening. This is all happening super fast, and it's just being slowed down really for television's sake. And it also, though, does show to me why Alicent feels as guilty as she does for sleeping with Sir Criston Cole, because we all know she probably wasn't getting any for the last couple of years, and now that her husband is dead and she's free to be free with herself, she feels guilty for moving on so fast and with somebody that was entrusted to protect her life by her husband.
And who's supposed to have a vow of chastity.
Right, and who's supposed to have a vow of chastity.
Now, I do want to talk about that 2 week time frame, too, because this is slightly problematic for me for a couple of things in this episode. And so I might skip around just a little bit, and I apologize. But first and foremost, Criston Cole has taken over a few different places in the Riverlands that quickly. Like, that seems a little wild to me. You know, like, taking out these whole hosts and everything else. Like, it just very surprising that happened within that. Not because it obviously wasn't 2 weeks he's been out there, right?
No. He's been out there for a very short amount of time.
Yeah. Also, too, at the end of the episode when we have Aegon flying to the battle, he gets there in a matter of minutes, hour, like, you know, it's just very...
Rook's Rest is actually very close to King's Landing, because Dragonstone is very close to King's Landing. It's basically like across the bay from King's Landing. And so Rook's Rest is like along the coast by Dragonstone. So it's a very short flight for him, and dragons do fly very fast. The fast travel for horses from King's Landing to the Riverlands, that could be another topic for conversation. The one thing we also don't know is how much time has passed since Criston Cole left King's Landing. Like, was it like 4 days, 5 days before, like, the rest of the series, and then he's been gone for a week, and then it's been about the 2 week time frame or whatever, and Alicent is a little worried because she hasn't gotten her period, and she's like, give me that tea, please, and going in there. So, I mean, we just don't know the breakdown of the time, but yeah, like, it does seem very quick for Criston Cole to be marching through the Riverlands, gathering up all these forces for that 2 week time frame.
Now, we can move past that now because you pretty much kind of hit that with just knowing the location of those. I didn't realize they were so close.
Yeah.
Alicent, taking the tea, what else did you want to talk about that with her?
Well, so one of the things that was interesting is, like, of course, how she's just straight up lying to the maester about who it's for. But we all know that happens. It's no big deal. But then when Sir Larys Strong comes to visit her after the council meeting is over with, he puts it together very quickly, like saying, "Oh, you must be worried about Sir Criston." So he obviously knows about their little tryst, and knows exactly what the tea that she was drinking was, and so he knows all of her secrets within 30 seconds of walking through her door, which is very interesting because he is the master of whispers. He is like that creepy dude that no one really likes, and Alicent doesn't really like him very much because he has a weird foot fetish, since he's a clubfoot. But he doesn't necessarily sit on his hands when it comes to taking actions. So it's just information that Larys Strong could use to his advantage over Queen Alicent now.
Yeah. And he's subtly letting her know that he knows.
Yeah, definitely. But I do want to talk about the council scene because this scene was fantastic. I loved it so much.
Oh yeah, Aegon's like, getting upset, riled up, and starts.
So Aegon's upset because Kristen Cole and Aemon are kind of waging this war without his consultation.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets told basically by Aemon to go F himself because Aemon very deftly just starts speaking High Valyrian and like roasts Aegon, telling him like, why would anyone consult with you? You don't know anything. And Aegon is like, I can has war in very broken High Valyrian because we all know that he used to be a drunkard and probably didn't pay the most attention in his High Valyrian classes when he was younger. Whereas Aemon was always the person who was like hitting the books hard, hitting the training yard hard, like all about bettering himself. And so he's fluent in High Valyrian and just makes Aegon look like a child and embarrasses him in front of his council, just like Aegon embarrassed Aemon in the whorehouse.
Correct. And it shows like the two different environments where they excelled, right?
Yeah.
Aegon was confident in the whorehouse and drinking and all that social stuff, where Aemon is not good at that. And so he did. I like that you brought that up. He really humiliated him there, and then Aemon returned it in kind, except this time, you're supposed to be the king, and really, you really shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. And then this is kind of brought up again when Aegon like goes to his chambers. His mom's like hitting all the history books. Oh, why? Probably because she's trying to figure out if Rhaenyra was lying or not lying, or learning more at least about the Song
of Ice and Fire.
Yeah, the Song of Ice and Fire. And, Aegon's like, what am I supposed to do? And his mom roasts him.
Yes, his mom roasts him and says, you should do nothing because you don't know anything. Sit there, listen, learn from all these people who have earned their place and didn't have it handed to them. And I was like, dang, first Aemon roasting you, and then your own mother roasting you when you go to her for comfort. She is really feeling the side effects of those teas. But it was
I think that, and just also too
scene.
watching him be a little baby and not doing his job correctly and making this war so much worse. Now, I am going to be really interested. One of the big fallouts that I'm very intrigued to see is the conversation between Aemon and his mom, Alicent, next episode. Because of how this episode ends, like, Aemon has single-handedly made this war so much worse.
Yes. Yep. So let's start talking about the big battle here, because this is...
I do want to just hit really quickly on just a couple of things. The Queen That Never Was, her sort of scenes with her husband there, and then just Dragonstone real fast.
Sure, yeah.
So we had Rhaenys, right? The Queen That Never Was. She had some conversations with her husband, the Sea Snake, and they were discussing... She was trying to discuss, like, the air. And, he's sitting there like, oh, like, none of my grandkids know the sea. And then it's funny because she goes to see him, and then she meets one of his illegitimate kids.
Yes.
And she handled it like such a queen. Whew. She's just like, you must have had a very beautiful mother.
Right.
And just like, she
subtly
even says
hinting that the woman must have been very beautiful to like lure Corlys Velaryon into her bed, basically.
Yeah. And I don't disagree. And also too, she's just like, you shouldn't be hiding him. You should be celebrating him. Have him in Driftmark.
Right.
I think almost leading into like,
legitimize
you can
him, make
heir.
him your heir. Yeah.
Yeah.
He saved your life. What can you do?
He's earned it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. And then at Dragonstone, we have Rhaenyra returning, and explaining that like she wanted to see if there was any other way to go about this instead of going to all-out war, and there isn't any. So war it is, and everyone's been thinking she's been cautious and all this, and it's a sign of weakness. And I would agree with her; it isn't a sign of weakness. But I could also see what they're saying, like they're
They
getting
want to
kind
see
of caught
some
with-
action. Yeah.
Yeah. And so no one seems to quite understand that, but they find out that Kristen Cole has taken over parts of the Riverland. They're like, where's he heading next? Probably to go get, what was the castle?
Harrenhal.
That Damon's. Harrenhal, yes.
Yeah.
And it was funny because they were saying how, like, it was Lars Strong who was talking to the council and was like, Harrenhal's useless.
Right.
You know?
He's like, let him
Damon
try to
rot
defend
there.
it. Let him rot there.
Let Damon rot there while we take the rest of the Riverlands. And he brings up such a good point, and I'm surprised Damon really didn't recognize that, right? But Damon's really just focused on, I want to build an army.
Yeah.
For
Harrenhal's
myself,
the
for
largest
Rhaenyra.
castle. It's the only castle in the Riverlands that can hold the large army that I want. I need to be there.
Yeah. And, yeah, we'll see how that works out for him. Apparently he's going to die there, so who knows? Allegedly. But we have Kristen Cole, after he's taken a few different places, they're like, is he going to go to Harrenhal? No, he's going to Rook's Rest. And it was interesting to see, and I didn't understand the symbolism there, when Rhaenyra knocked down Rook's Rest or something on the map. And she talked about going and fighting herself. Did you feel like there was any sort of...
Basically what she was saying is that, like, if the King's Landing folk, like the Greens, if they take Rook's Rest, then there will be no friendly place on the coast for them to land and get resupplied with stuff and everything. So, like, Rook's Rest may be this, like, insignificant castle to, like, most people, like, but to her, it represented, like, her one strong foot, like, her one holding on the land that, like, was first of all, super close to Dragonstone. Second of all, was a place for them to resupply and get more things, because otherwise they're getting all of their things through the sea, through, like, Corlys Valerian and the supplies from Driftmark and everything, and it just was a place that is, like, strategically important for her, even if it is, like, a small little castle.
That's a good point. And so this is one of the things I'm interested to hear more on the fallout of. So anyway, we have this huge battle. Rhaenys says she's going to go in Rhaenyra's stead. Everyone sort of agrees with it, right? She makes that decision. Corlys is right there, and he is like, he hears her say it, and, you know, she taps his chest and stuff, and she goes. I know in the books, and I had seen this somewhere else, that apparently he got really upset and felt like it should have been Rhaenyra that went instead of her. Is that true?
I honestly don't remember that bit.
Yeah, but I was going to say they've kind of made it so, like, he can't really have that reaction now because he was fully aware that she made that choice. And
right. And
I mean, he may still be a
everybody
little upset, but
everybody was saying, and everything that was said to Aegon about why he should not go to battle himself.
yeah,
And everybody was saying the same thing to Rhaenyra. You can't go to battle yourself. And
Yeah.
now with this battle that happens here, where Aegon does fly off drunk and half-cocked, we see why the king or queen should not go into battle themselves unless absolutely needed.
correct. And so we have Aegon come into this battle and fight Meleys, and he gets really badly hurt and injured. Not so much. I mean, his dragon, and he probably would have died anyway, fighting Meleys. And, yeah. But it was really Aemon.
Yep, Aemon comes in with Vhagar, and
After the fact.
Yes.
Planned.
yes.
He saw him flying, and instead of being like, oh, crap, like, I'm going to go help him, like, we'll go in together, he's like, you know what? I'm going to let them sort of go in first.
Yep.
Very much on purpose.
He's a tactical mind, and he's thinking, if they can fight each other on the dragons, I can just swoop in and get an easy win here.
Which is funny because the only person he really hurt there at the beginning was
His brother.
his brother. And this is this was really a little saddening to me because, like, Meleys could have escaped, right?
Yep.
At that point, she
could have
turned around and gone and been like, I can't mess with them. I'm gonna go. And she sort of is. You can see her sort of deliberating this, right? And she's just like, fine, I'm gonna turn around and attack. And she knows she's gonna die.
Yeah, I mean, Rhaenys, she really like resigned herself to like the fate there. She had plenty of chances to escape, but like you saw her kind of like going, and she's like, nah, we're going back. We're doing it. We're doing it.
Which didn't make sense to me, because my thing would have been like, I would have been like, okay, I'm going back. I'm telling everyone, and then we're coming back with like 4 dragons, and we're fucking this guy.
Well, especially if she knew that Aegon got roasted like he did. Like, why would you not escape and say, hey, your brother, the Pretender King, guess what? He's fired up. He is barbecue. Let's go in. We can take this now. Like, there's no legitimate way that they can try to hold you off. But, again, just kind of circling back to Aemon waiting, it was a plot between Sir Criston Cole and Aemon to, like, kind of lure a dragon out to, like, defend Rook's Rest. And then they were going to surprise attack and take out the dragon to try to remove one of Rhaenyra's strongest pieces. So not just her castle, but one of her biggest pieces of firepower, the dragon.
Now, this is really interesting, because really what ended up happening was it was kind of like a 1-for-1. Even though I would say Meleys was a much more valuable piece than Sunfire.
Yeah, because Sunfire was a smaller dragon, as we saw there, because like Meleys like dwarfed Sunfire. Or Sunfire was dwarfed by Meleys, but then Meleys was dwarfed by Vhagar.
Well, and so dwarfed by Vhagar, right?
Yeah, he's the biggest living dragon.
Except for what's the other one that's at?
Balerion the Black Dread, the Conqueror's dragon, was the largest of the dragons. But
there is another one too, right? That's kind of out there still. Didn't Daemon go and like meet with that dragon?
I'm not sure. Daemon has a large dragon himself, but
yeah, but you remember
I'm not
at the
sure.
End of the first season, it was the one he like walked into this cavern with this dragon, and it was, I forget which dragon it was. I thought it started with a V, but doesn't matter. Yeah. So we have the fallout where we have the queen that never was died. Her dragon's dead. Vhagar got injured, kind of hurt a little bit. Yeah. Not enough for my taste, but
right. But now we see that Aemon has taken out both Lucerys and Rhaenys, as well as both of their dragons. So like
Lucerys?
Lucerys was Luke, the young boy who had cut his eye out before. So he took him out at the end of last season.
Yeah,
we see him taking out Rhaenys this time.
Yeah,
but both of their dragons as well, which is a big portion of it as too.
Yes.
So like we see this episode, it does beg the question: did Aemon purposefully try to kill his brother Aegon, or was he just, caught in the crossfire of him trying to take out the dragon?
Oh, he could have attacked without probably just attacked Meleys without attacking both dragons, but he was just like Dracarys, like light them on fire.
Yeah.
So it was definitely intentional.
In the book, it's made a lot less clear whether it was intentional or not. However, the show really makes it seem like it's definitely intentional.
Well, yeah, because even at the end of this, and this was, I think, one of the big fallout pieces here is, one, Criston Cole has realized I'm useless now.
Yes.
After this battle, right?
Because now it's a dragon warfare.
Yeah, it is down to dragons now, and probably subterfuge and trying to kill the riders.
Yeah.
Would be my assumption with a lot of this, but we have Criston Cole realizing just the sheer destruction these dragons can cause, right? Because Meleys before Aegon had been there, and if Aemon, and if Aemon hadn't been there and Aegon hadn't shown up, like Meleys would have killed them all.
Cleaned house, yeah.
Yeah, like thousands of men, like nothing. And as it was, she killed probably around 1,000 just in the short attack she did on them. Was not enough to save the castle, especially with that dragon there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, especially once Rhaenys and Meleys die, falling to the death there, it looked like they kind of landed on a portion of the castle to like
they
destroy
breached
a wall
it
or whatever.
the forces.
Yeah.
But just kind of the horrors there of the dragon were really evident. So I know that's going to definitely be a piece going forward that's going to have impact. But also too, like, it was interesting to see, like, Kristen Cole, he's searching for Aegon. So he really did want to make sure Aegon was okay. And we kind of go into this clearing where Sunfire's down and Aemon has the sword out. We don't know why. I was just sort of inferring, one, probably because, what if enemy troops show up, but two, if no one's around and my brother's still alive,
And that's exactly why I said they're making it explicitly clear, I think, in the show, that Aemon purposefully tried to kill Aegon.
Yeah. But it seems he is alive still. Obviously very heavily injured. And I don't know if Sunfire will necessarily recover, because it looked like its wing got, like, taken out.
So yeah, they have not come straight out and said if Aegon's alive yet or not. However, I think it's kind of clear, if you watch the trailers and everything for the next episode, that Aegon is alive. Like, at least in some capacity. What that looks like, I have no idea. We'll have to see. But it'll be one of those situations where it's almost like a why are you keeping this a mystery? We know what the deal is here situation.
Yeah, suspense, right?
Right.
But
Now here's the real question. Is how do you think Corlys is going to react to his wife dying? How do you think Rhaenyra is going to react to Rhaenys dying?
Yeah, so this is the big fallout, right? Is what are they going to do about this? Because one, they lost Rook's Rest.
Yep.
They lost the dragon. They lost one of the top dragon riders they had.
Yep.
She probably was the top outside of Daemon, and I mean, Rhaenyra really has never had combat.
She hasn't had combat. She has flown herself on the dragon for like a long time, obviously, but
Yes.
Rhaenys was far more experienced than her.
Yeah. And I don't know who had a bigger dragon, Rhaenyra or Rhaenys, but
I'm not sure about that off the top of my head.
doesn't matter because it's not Vhagar.
Right.
Right. But there's going to be some fallout with that. I think Corlys, like, obviously he's going to be upset, but I don't see him leaving Rhaenyra. If anything, like, Rhaenys had mentioned wanting him at Rhaenyra's side. Maybe he becomes her hand of the king or something like that. Because she does need somebody, and everyone at that table respects him.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's going to be interesting to see. Did you say maybe?
No, I said, yeah, that they do respect him.
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting to see because there's been a few vocal members on that council, especially the one who was like all about, like, who is from Rook's Rest. He had the metal plate there, who's very outspoken against the queen.
I mean, her council's a bunch of fools right now, and they really aren't in support of her. They're like, how can I get power? And they see her as a means for them to get power. And yeah, I think Corlys will kick them into gear if he becomes the hand of the king.
Yeah, but I think she might have, like, at least that Rook's Rest person. Like, maybe he ends up being, okay, you know what? I lost my home. I haven't really been vibing with this person, so maybe I'm just going to go to the other side or something like that. I think we might have some fallout with some people
shifting loyalties.
Yeah, because, like you said, they're only looking for power, and, this side may be losing now. Like, they got, the Greens have an army. They've got the support of the High Towers. They have the support of this one. These people have not gotten any forces yet. Like, might be time to jump ship.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that will be interesting, though, is watching to see what happens, like, as far as who blames who for what's happening. And depending upon the condition that Aegon is in, what does that look like for the Greens as far as where their stance is? Because we don't really know what's going to go down as far as Aegon living, Aegon dying, Aemon taking the throne, Alicent taking the throne, Sir Criston Cole taking the throne. Like, what's going to go down there?
Oh my gosh. We know if anyone took it, it would be Aemon, right?
You'd think.
You would think. Okay. Intriguing. Wouldn't that be something if Alicent took it?
Yeah. Like, the country can't have a queen unless it's me.
Oh, yeah, unless it's me.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rhaenyra. Like, that's what I was saying. Like, I don't think so. And also, too, I think we're going to have there's going to be so much fallout, too. And I'm really interested. So I love the White Worm, by the way. And she mentioned in this episode, there's more ways to win, or maybe it was this episode, or maybe it was the trailer. There's more ways to win this war than just, through fighting. And so I think she's going to be really a important person here. And when Rhaenyra was meeting with the rest of them, she was on the staircase kind of listening in.
Yeah.
It seemed like, and they had asked somebody had asked why Rook's Rest, and it sort of panned to her. And so that's why I was like, I wonder what feedback she's going to give or what information she has. And how is she going to sort of impact this war? Because I feel like we're going to see kind of it diverge away from the whole soldiers fighting soldiers bit.
Yep.
More into dragons and, getting more riders and all that. And also this subterfuge, right? You're going to have her sort of facing off against
Sir Lara Strong.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if he's a knight or not, just like Lara Strong, yeah.
Yeah, Strong. So I am very much excited to see how this keeps building. As much as every time one of these people that I really like dies, it just makes me hate the show and not want to come back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to see it continuing on. I think that right now we're in peak House of the Dragon as far as like the plot, the acting, the effects, all of it has been spectacular. The writing, it's definitely setting a high bar for fantasy television, which is great to see, and I'm glad that it's kind of picked up that mantle from Game of Thrones and has continued on with that high quality that we had with that show.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right, well, let's see how the fallout happens once the next episode comes out. But for now, it's going to do it for us. It's going to be two nerds signing off. Goodbye.
See ya.
Chicago.